vaccinated. So my point here is not to relitigate this topic, but just to give you some color as to why I can't avail myself of the remedy that many of you think is available to me, which is just to invite people onto this podcast to debate these issues. On the election front, why not invite someone onto the podcast? Why not talk to Steve Bannon, right? Wouldn't that be the responsible thing to do? Well, what do I do when Bannon says, what about the 1,700 ballots in Maricopa County that were found on a pallet in a parking lot? What about the 7 poll workers who resigned in protest? I just made that up, and he could just make that up. And that's the kind of claim that can't possibly be run down in real time or in any acceptable time if one wants to have a life. All of that is obviously bullshit, right? The general picture of the entire effort to establish massive election fraud that stole the election for Biden, all of it was obviously bullshit. There is no reason to speak to Steve Bannon about any of that. All of this was thrown out of courts. All of it was resisted by the few Republican governors and election officials that had spines, right? And if it hadn't been resisted by them, and if Mike Pence had caved in to all the pressure he was getting to reject the ballots that came from these states, we would have found ourselves in a destabilizing constitutional crisis, right? So the fear is next time, those few crucial people aren't going to be in place to do the right thing. But this is just not the kind of conversation that can be had. You can't debate spurious facts in that way. And what you then risk doing is giving people the sense that, this is just really confusing. I don't know, Steve sounded like he had a lot of data that Sam wouldn't interact with. How many ballots were on that pallet in the parking lot?